Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So we are going to be looking at this particular tablet that XPPen actually kindly sent to me for me to review and to show you guys. So this is the XPPen Artist24FHD drawing display tablet. So this is part of their artist line of drawing tablets. This one is very large, therefore I couldn't really film it on my desk. So here it is in its full glory, well, the box I guess, and I'll show you guys a size comparison via the sketchbook, which is just a bit bigger than A5 size. So let's take a look into the contents of the box. So right off the bat, we have this wireless shortcut remote. We'll take a closer look at that a little bit later. And then inside this box actually has the rest of the components that you need to set up the tablet. This will include some of the accessories alongside with a lot of the wires. So let's take a look at this. So starting off, we actually have the, I guess, pen case, pen stand, pen nibs, and the actual pen all together. And I'll show you guys that a little bit closely a little bit later. Next up, we actually have the back plate or cover for the tablet. I'll show you guys where that goes in a bit. Here are the other wires. So we have the HDMI to HDMI alongside with the USB to USB-C cable. This one is USB-C to USB-C. And then here is the power cable, and then the one on the very right down here is actually the power adapter. So that is all for the wires for the actual tablet. In the upper right hand corner, we actually have a microfiber cloth, I believe the glove, and then the quick guide. So we can use the quick guide to actually take a look on how you want to set up your tablet, but we'll do that in a little bit. So next up, we actually have the tablet itself. Apologies that the tablet actually doesn't fit fully on camera for me. This is the farthest away I can get my webcam to be from here, so I'll show you guys some other shots of it a little bit later so you guys can get the full dimensions. Also, when you take out the tablet, you should remove the screen protective film on it. There's two different films, so one actually has the matte screen protector, and then the other thing was just like a protective film to keep your tablet from being scratched during shipment. So I wanted to show you guys actually the different angles that this tablet can have. I believe it can go from 16 degrees to 90 degrees. So you can go from really flat to really like angled, which is how I usually like to use it. But depending on your posture and just like your own drawing habits, you'll be able to adjust the kind of the angle of drawing so that you can have a more comfortable drawing experience. So you can pull the little handle on the back and you can kind of lower or raise up the tablet. So this is, I think, as low as it can go, and then this is how high it can go as well. So yeah, anywhere between 16 degrees and 90 degrees, just with a little push of that handle. So looking into the quick start guide, you get a little bit of information about each different ports, as well as how you can connect the tablet to your computer. So I'm going to be actually using the first connection method, which is via the HDMI and the USB-C to USB cable. I didn't really show this, but at the very top there's actually an audio jack too, so you can plug headphones in directly to this tablet as well. After I organized my cords, I put on the back plate so we can protect everything from being exposed or falling out. Now we can move on to the wireless shortcut remote. So here's the remote, by the way. I actually didn't know it came with a remote, so it's kind of interesting, but it kind of makes sense since there are no shortcut buttons or keys or express keys on the actual tablet itself. It also comes with stickers that you can actually place onto each individual button after you customize it to whatever you want the shortcuts to be. I think that's also very helpful. I'm gonna leave mine plain for now because I'm probably going to be switching the buttons quite a bit until I find a proper workflow. But you can see it has a dial, a button in the center of the dial, and then about 10 different buttons that you can use for shortcuts. And I'll talk a bit more about the customization once we get the tablet fully set up. But I think you can use different orientations and stuff to fit whatever you need, and I think left-handed people can use it quite well as well. Okay, so let's look at the tablet. There is a border around the whole thing, as well as there's the buttons on the very top, which I like because I won't accidentally press them while I work. So they're kind of out of the way, and this is where you're gonna adjust settings and everything. So looking at the pen case, so this round tube on one end, which I would consider the top, actually has the pen nibs and your pen nib extractor. So the little center hole is what you use to extract your pen nib from your pen, and then it comes with 8 extra nibs. So let's screw that back on and check the other side. So the other side has a much thicker and weighted side. So this is actually the cap for your case, as well as your stand for your pen. So let's slip out the pen so you guys can see the full thing. I really like this kind of style of pen for any kind of drawing tablet. Thicker barrel on one side and thinner on the other side just feels a lot better for me and gives me a less probability of kind of having a deft grip and potentially getting arthritis and carpal tunnel from holding something a little bit larger. It's just more comfortable in my opinion. I also think that the pen has a good weight because of how thick it is on one side compared to the other. But you can see that this becomes a traveling case very quickly by screwing on the one end back into the tube. So once you want to get your tablet set up, you can go ahead and download the appropriate driver from their website by looking up the appropriate model. And once you download the driver, you can go ahead and look at the settings. So you can change the screen setting, the display setting so that it fits your needs, as well as you can change your pen setting, which I highly recommend you do. So this will include things like pressure sensitivity, as well as the buttons for the pen, which there are 2. So I've set mine both to right click as I use both of them for eyedropping. Yeah, I've changed my pressure curve and I believe this is what I used for today's current drawing. So yeah, I wanted to show you guys what I adjusted it to afterwards. And that's what I landed with. I wanted to make sure that I'll be able to get a good range of the pressure and making sure that it's comfortable. Once I've connected the Bluetooth via the wireless shortcut remote, you can also plug it in via cord, but once the program recognizes that it's on, you can go ahead and adjust the buttons to whatever you need to have your button set to. So there's actually 4 different sets you can have as well, and you can kind of toggle between all 4 with the K1 button. Which is the key group switching. So you can actually customize all individual buttons to be whatever you want. It can be single keys, it could be a combination, it could be mouse clicking or anything like that. And if you press K2, you can do set preview to see what everything you set it to. So everything I've set there is currently what I used during the working process of this illustration. Okay, so now that we're going to go into time-lapse mode pretty quick, let me explain a few things. I am going to be working in Clip Studio Paint today. I'm going to be drawing my OC Masaki, and hopefully, yeah, everything is going to be in time-lapse. So during this portion, I'm going to try to talk about kind of my pros and cons about this kind of tablet, as well as just my experience using it. But let me get something out of the way first. So the little cover that says watching video while I work is because I was watching another YouTube video, and just for, you know, copyright's sake, I don't want to show it. So yeah, it's just a Stephanie Sue video. I was just listening to her talk and stuff, and sometimes I like having the visuals up there. But I think that's like one of the benefits of having such a large display tablet like this, or a large workspace, is the fact that you can have multiple things all at once while you're drawing or while you're working. So for me, occasionally I actually like having my entertainment, I guess, on the side. So this could be videos, live streams, whatever the media player allows me to kind of pop out and float alongside my drawing space. Another thing is that sometimes I like having multiple windows open for drawing. So I'll show you guys in a little bit that once we get to the coloring stage, I'm going to have a bigger version, or I guess like a smaller version of Masaki on the left hand side, which you guys will have a better view of the drawing in a sense without me rotating and zooming in and out constantly. So hopefully that'll make things a little bit less dizzying for you guys. But sometimes I like having like 3 views. So like the canvas that I'm currently working on, a another canvas open of the same drawing where it's going to be more stationary. It's also zoomed out. I know some people like using the navigator. I like having a separate window that can just float there. And sometimes I have a third one where I have the flipped version just in case I want to catch some other mistakes for making sure that things don't look too derpy. So yeah, I like having multiple windows. I also think on an interface similar to Clip Studio Paint, even though it's very customizable, sometimes on like certain smaller tablets that are display tablets, I do find it a little bit cluttered, or the workspace seems very tight because of the amount of menus that are open. And I feel like that's another benefit of just having a larger drawing surface because I don't really have to worry about that. I've also arranged my Clip Studio Paint a little bit differently. Because the drawing surface is so large, I decided to shift my layers and my navigator to the right side alongside with my brushes, my colors, and my tools, just because it's just easier for my hand to access instead of reaching all the way across to press the layers. I don't alter the layers too much when I'm painting like this, so it's not going to be too much of an issue. Another thing you could do as well is actually have something like PureRef, which is another application. And I use PureRef mostly in conjunction when I'm working in Paint Tool SAI, because Paint Tool SAI actually doesn't have the luxury of having those kinds of floating windows in a sense. That's very customizable. So PureRef is kind of like a floating reference tool for you, and you can kind of place it on top of your workspace, and I could have a bunch of reference laid out. And I actually like doing that, and having a larger surface like this allows me to layer up those windows without feeling like I'm kind of interfering with the workspace that I'm working on. I think also a screen this big is just nice if you don't have another monitor, I guess. I used my old one also as a monitor alongside with my laptop when I wasn't drawing. So similarly to how I'm going to be using this one, is basically, even though I'm drawing on it right now, while I'm editing or if I want to play games, I tend to like working on a larger screen, which, because this one has wonderful color, it's clean and crisp, as well as just like it's vibrant and large, it's just easier for me to view. So I like using it for kind of other things that are not just specific to drawing, which is why I really like that this screen feels high quality and very crisp, and just, I don't know, I just really like it. I didn't really talk about the screen too much. So the tablet itself is fully laminated. It also is how to explain? It has a screen protector on top of it. I believe I touched upon it a little bit earlier, where you have to peel the protective layer over it. But once you peel that protective layer, you reveal the anti-glare matte screen protector. And I'll make sure that probably next week I'll do a ASMR video with me and having the drawing sounds on top of this tablet, so you guys can kind of get a feel a bit about the texture of the screen protector. It's not very noticeable. It is a matte screen protector, but it does have ever so slightly like a small amount of grit to it. And I do like the fact that it is anti-glare. So even though I'm working at night at this point, a little bit later I'm going to be working in the morning, or I have like the backlight on, and you don't see a lot of glare, which is really nice. So yeah, I definitely do like the fact that most of these tablets do have an anti-glare film, and the fact that they're matte, because I couldn't imagine really working on it if it was glossy, because it'd probably be too reflective. Also on the bottom right hand, or no, the left hand corner, I have the remote. So I was occasionally trying my best to use it in conjunction with my keyboard. It's gonna take me a little bit of time to actually get used to. So yeah, hopefully I can get used to it, and it'll maybe quicken up my drawing process or my workflow a little bit. So you can see that I'm zooming in and out quite a bit. So eventually I will open up that second window, so that first of all, it won't be too dizzy for you guys, but also it'll keep me in check and making sure that Masaki doesn't look super derpy. So yeah, you can see I have a more zoomed out version of Masaki right there. And in the middle of while I was working, I was adjusting the pen pressure and stuff. So I highly recommend that if you're not used to altering your pen pressure and stuff, do it alongside while trying to draw something. It'll give you a better sense of what you're more used to. I think the pen pressure that I showed you guys at the very beginning was actually the pen pressure at the very end of this session, so it's a little bit more accurate to what I used. But yeah, make sure to have a full range of being able to press lightly and hard to make sure you get the most use out of your brush, but not being so hard that you're digging into the screen. Let's see, what else did I forget about? Screen size, I guess. I think the whole tablet itself is 23.8 inches, so it is a very large tablet. I think did I talk about this? Maybe I didn't. At the back of the tablet where the stand is, where you can adjust like the angle of the tablet, you actually can unscrew the stand from the tablet and use the screw holes to mount your tablet to a monitor arm, which is something I'm planning on doing, so I will update you guys if that ends up happening. I'm gonna try it, and if it works out, I'll put it into the video, and if it doesn't, I'll just leave it out because it won't be necessary. But the benefit of using a drawing arm is the fact that, I guess this is kind of like one of the cons about this tablet, is just the sheer fact that it is a little bit on the bulkier side. So therefore, it is going to take up quite a bit of space. It is very wide, it's a little bit thick, it's heavy, and if you're going to be moving it back and forth quite a bit, you can make it a lot easier by having a monitor arm, or if you want the luxury of having more space on your desk, because like I said, this drawing tablet is it's kind of robust. It's very sturdy, but because of that, it feels very hard to move sometimes because of how big it is. So instead of moving it back and forth, so if I move it forward, I can draw on it and, you know, use it as a drawing tablet. But on days where I'm just doing editing or I want to play games and use it as kind of like a monitor, I want to push it back so I'm not being face to face with my screen. And I like having space on my desk, so I would prefer if I can make my monitor move more easily, up and down, both forward and backwards. So like I said, if it works out, and I'll show you guys how I have my monitor arm set up, I will have that set up. But the reason why I don't think it may or may not work for me is just the fact that my desk is not made for those kinds of clamps, so we'll see how it works out. And what I mean that my desk isn't made for it is just the fact that the sides of the desks are a little bit shallow, and I believe the clamp is much larger. I did have some clamps before, but I gave them to my brother because he has a 3 monitor setup plus a laptop screen, so like 4 screens, and he needed an extra arm, so I gave him the arms that I had. But yeah, if it doesn't work out, I'll have an extra arm for the future when I do get a desktop. But I do want to at least give it a go, because it does have the, I don't know if it's called VESA or the VESA, which is kind of like more or less the universal mounting size for a lot of monitors. So if you want to do that, that is an option. I believe some other tablets you're able to do that as well, so definitely give it a go if you really need to kind of bring out more space on your desk, or if you want to have that mobility for drawing. And yeah, like I said, I'll let you guys know about that if that happens. The tablet pen is battery free, and it basically has 8,192 pressure levels and 60 degrees tilt, so it just feels very comfortable and very easy to work with. I had no problems with the tablet pen. Also, setup of the tablet was very easy. Just plug in everything, get the appropriate driver from their website, and I had no issues with it. So it's kind of nice when things like, you know, set up very easily. Also, in terms of like the actual display setting of everything, all I changed was the brightness. I found that the colors were very similar to my previous tablet, so I didn't really want to alter it too much. But if you have a specific device that you want it to match to, you can definitely use the buttons on the top to go through the menu and change the different like hue and saturation, the gamma levels, as well as like the brightness and stuff. So you can definitely check those settings if you really want to adjust them. Let me think. In terms of just the tablet in general, I do like the fact that it doesn't wobble. It's very sturdy. Also, the fact that there are no buttons on the side or anything, I really like, because I'm not going to be accidentally pressing them or anything like that. So there's no accidentally screenshotting or like going back and forth on my tabs or my windows by accidentally grazing my hand across the screen. I think, yeah, I think that's about it in terms of, I don't really think I have any cons about this tablet other than the fact that yes, drawing or having a tablet at this size has its own drawbacks just because it is so large and a little bit bulky. Oh, that's another thing. Just like a general tip or a thing to keep in mind about having a display graphic tablet is the fact that your posture might be compromised a little bit, so be a little bit wary. I like to actually prop up my tablet almost 90 degrees while working. This one's slightly lower just because also the camera angle is a little bit better. I know some people like to lay it all the way down or very horizontal, very flushed with their desk, and I think you should just be wary about craning your neck too much or craning your back, so just be careful about posture. I know some people don't have that problem if you're working on a non-screen tablet because usually you're looking forward. Just be careful about posture because you don't want to be curving your back like a banana or a shrimp the entire time. For the most part, I like working upright completely, and then I can rest my back on the backrest of my chair, or I can try to sit as straight as possible and lower my chair downward so that I'm eye level with my tablet, and making sure that my arm is kind of more or less resting on something so I don't make my arm very fatigued from drawing. I did use the artist glove this time. I usually don't use it while working, but just because I wanted to keep the screen a little bit more in a pristine condition and kind of oil free, I decided to put the glove on because my hands are a little grubby sometimes because I touch my face a lot. So yeah, to keep everything clean, I'm using the artist glove, and it makes it a little bit more easier to glide across the screen as well because there's no friction, or at least like less friction for the most part. But yeah, I think in the future, if I really want to as well, because I think I touched upon this a little bit earlier too, is the fact that this tablet also has an audio jack, which I find very interesting, because I might use it in the future. It is on the right side. I kind of wish it was on the left side, but it makes sense putting it on the same side as the rest of the wires and stuff. But my headphone jack for my laptop is very far, so having one on the actual tablet might make it a little bit easier for myself, because if I'm drawing in such close proximity, the headphone length would actually be much closer. But I also use wireless earbuds a lot more recently, so that's not an issue I guess anymore. But it's something to keep in mind if you want to use just the audio jack on the actual tablet rather than on your other device that you have it hooked up to. I did play Core Keeper a little bit on my computer and using this drawing tablet as a second monitor, and it works nicely. I'll show a little bit of footage here and there. It's not super crisp just because of the amount of light in my room, but yeah, I think I had no problems visually with the tablet either. Like, I know some people might think like the refresh rate or something, I don't remember what it's called, on some other tablets were terrible for like maybe watching videos that are at higher speeds or something like that, or at a certain quality. I don't know enough about like screen quality in terms of like monitors for me to be an accurate judge about it, but for the most part for me, and I feel like I'm like the average person, I don't see any problems with it. And the colors are very vibrant, very bright, and I feel like they're very accurate to how I usually like working with it. So yeah, I didn't think I had any issues with it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I'll talk very briefly about the drawing though. Yeah, Jumayoshi Masaki did some effects here and there, and then I'm adjusting the colors a little bit. I'll make sure to put the drawing at the very end so you guys can see Masaki fully. But yeah, here's today's drawing. Also, thank you again to XPPen for sending me this tablet to review and show you guys. But if you guys are looking for a much larger tablet to upgrade, definitely have this one in your consideration, and do check out XPPen in general because their products are always lovely, and I feel like at any level there's probably something for you there. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.